I'm Victoria Compton from the San Juan County Economic Development Council, and we are here today to speak with Washington State Representative Debra Lekanoff and Dr. Laurie Trautman, border expert, and we're excited to hear from them. And also I wanted to mention this meeting is being recorded so that we can put this on our website for other people who weren't able to make it today. We have a bit of a light turnout. There's a lot going on in our community right now, so a lot of people are engaged doing other things. So I'm excited to be able to put this on our website to get the information out to everybody. And Representative Lekanoff, I know that you've got another meeting at 9:30, so I'm going to abridge everything I would say and hand the mic over to you. Thank you so much for coming today and for all of the work that you're doing on behalf of our community.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Let me just welcome Kaylee Galloway, my LA, Amanda Hubick, who is the LA for my friend and colleague, Representative Rammel, who I share this incredible, beautiful district with. Thank you for welcoming me here. It is a busy time for the islands. It's a busy time for the 40th. And we are facing just extreme challenges, one after another. But we do what San Juan County does, and we rise, we endure, we collaborate together, and we put one foot in front of the other. We just continue to make a better community for everybody. And the strength that comes out of the San Juan counties is just powerful in the 40th. You are one of the strongest districts that protect the environment, that advocate for tourism, and that remind the rest of Washington State, when you speak about rural Washington, San Juan Islands is a unique rural community that has sustained a stable economy. It has sustained keeping their community safe during this COVID virus, and continues to address the needs of infrastructure, childcare, and behavioral health care, and transportation systems. So I'm really honored to be able to collaborate with Representative Rammel and with the amazing Senator Lovelet. The three of us as a team work collectively together to ensure that our San Juan communities are represented, our South Bellingham, our Anacortes, and our Skagit and Samish community is all well represented and moving forward. The legislative session this year is going to be quite interesting. It starts in January. It's going to be a short session. We're not quite sure yet how we're going to be, whether or not we're going to be meeting face-to-face, or whether or not it's going to be a hybrid of face-to-face and Zooms. But we did realize during this time of crisis and during this last session that today's technology, although we get tired of playing the little boxes on the scene, it opens the door for our hearings and allows our constituents from around Washington State to participate. We had 1,500 folks sign in to our state and local government when we talked about voting reform. 1,500 people signing in and witnessing. That was an incredible opportunity for us to share through today's technology that we can be a government of tomorrow and of the future. And we also raised the awareness that if we're going to come together face-to-face in Olympia for our legislative session, how do we put forth and make sure we are protected as legislators? How do we protect our staff? I don't live a day without talking to Kaylee 3 or 4 times on the phone or by text in our working hours. And I'm sure that Alex is the same with Amanda and Jordan with Liz. We want to protect our employees, not only our LA and our employees, but also protecting our agencies, protecting our research staff, and then protecting the governor's staff. So as our esteemed speaker and our Senate Majority Leader works with the governor's office, we'll come out with what that plan would look like. For me, it's been interesting, Victoria, and probably like all of you, 18 meetings a day, one meeting after another, staying prioritized on our top issues, making sure that Kaylee and I are accessible from our constituents, and always making sure that our communities come first. You know, as we talk about the legislative session, economic development and stability is really in the forefront. How do we intertwine sustaining the implementation of the infrastructure money within our communities in an equitable way? This means We can't afford to have all the funding go down to urban areas such as King County for infrastructure and building and electrical transportation planning. We need this funding to come out equitably to our rural areas. And you'll hear Liz and I fighting very strongly for ferries. We are determined to make sure that our ferry system in San Juan County continues to get the attention politically, the financial support, and the growth that's needed to be able to sustain and take care of not only our community members who live there, but the tourism that comes out, which flows into your guys' economies. It helps with the taxes that go into your communities. But also, not only do we need to address the ferry system, but we want to make sure that we provide funding for the infrastructure growth that's needed in San Juan County. The amount of visitors that you all have had and the amount of people who have come out to live in their second homes has put a weight upon your water and sewer system that you guys were not prepared for. The island county sustains itself because you all plan, you carefully track the amount of people coming in and out, and you watch your wastewater and your drinking water systems quite closely, not to mention your waste, the trash that comes through there. These are big priority issues that we need to continue to make sure we get funding for. You know, hearing in the East Sound, that I know no one wants to talk about poop this early in the morning, but I'll be honest, we're elected officials, and this is a big priority for us when the East Sound doesn't have the capacity in their sewer system to continue to maintain the infrastructure out there. Liz and I are taking that very seriously. Alex is taking that very seriously. This means we need funding and infrastructure to come out to our communities. We're looking at roadway systems. Your roadway systems are two ways. How do we protect the integrity and lifestyle of San Juan Islands, but also how do we continue to provide funding for road systems, for buffers on the side of the roads, for trail systems? This is also very important for us. Ferries, roadways, infrastructure. You know, I had the pleasure of Victoria meeting with you. We talked about how vital childcare is to the islands. You know, I was focused on Anacortes, where we have 1,500 children between birth and 5 who need childcare. We don't have the facilities in Anacortes to do it. Come to find out, we don't have that, Victoria. We don't have childcare systems in the islands. You know, talking to Frankie over at MRCS, you know, she has a newborn little boy. You know, she is a sound scientist that we need working and protecting the environment, but she's also first and foremost a mom. If we can't provide those services to our moms and dads to take care of childcare, we're failing, and we can't afford to have that. So having a roundtable on childcare and directing Department of Commerce to provide funding and grant opportunities, Victoria, was really a collaborative effort that Kaylee and I really focused on during the interim. You know, I'll address education. We had the opportunity to sit down with your superintendents, and you guys, if you ever get a chance to call your superintendents in San Juan Islands, call them and thank them. Every day, Kaylee and Manda, I know you get a 2 thumbs up in Jordan. We consistently hear from your superintendents how important education is and the lack of funding that we're seeing in our school systems. Orcas Island alone was $300,000 short last year. They want to provide the very best education in San Juan Islands because these are the leaders of tomorrow. These are the ones who will be the next doctor, the next lawyer, the next entrepreneur, the next childcare, the next governor, the next 40th represented. These are the children who are growing up and being raised on the islands, which we really see to be those children who know self-sufficiency, who understand conservation and how to build a strong economy based on what's given to them with respect to sharing and protecting the environment. Shifting into the environment, my role this year is really going to continue to incorporate climate change, salmon recovery into our Growth Management Act bills. House Bill 1117 made it all the way to the very tip of being passed in the Senate. I've received confirmation this year from both the House and the Senate that the House Bill 1117, which incorporates salmon recovery, net ecological gain into capital projects for local cities and counties, is a priority. With the infrastructure money coming, it's important that our local government receive that money to build the new wastewater treatment plants, to build new road systems, to build trails, but to do it with the integrity of climate change building, salmon recovery implementation for habitat, and building those strong infrastructures. Because let's be frank, y'all, overall across the state, local cities and counties cannot afford to be sued for not incorporating salmon recovery into their responsibility. And cities and counties, the Association of Cities, the Association of Counties, and the environmental community all support this bill, which is important for us. Lastly, we're going to continue to work on the healthcare system. We have the largest shortage in Washington State of healthcare employees. We saw this 10 years ago when the behavioral health, we didn't pay attention as the state of Washington in providing behavioral health attention. And now we are stuck in a pandemic of behavioral health, of mental health, of addiction right now. And we're playing catch up. We're building the healthcare, we're building the behavioral health and mental health care system. We need those systems put in place out in San Juan Islands. When you have a critical situation in one of the islands and someone is in a suicide critical place, who on that island is able to go and manage and provide support? On some of your islands are so small, there isn't anyone. You're having to travel off the island to go to therapy. You have to travel off the island to get your dosages for opioid addiction. We can do better in San Juan County. I go back to the conversation of healthcare workers. That shortage is happening within your own communities. I was so bold when I met with the nurses and the doctors, and I met with the governor's office, Kaylee and I said, I'm so bold to say we need to provide for the next 12 years free education for those who want to go into the behavioral health, mental health, which is already happening, but into the healthcare world. We need to better provide protection and pay wages for our nurses. They are the very foundation of our hospitals and clinics. They're like the great auntie that comes into the house and takes care of us. We need to be respectful of that. And for those healthcare workers, our caregivers, it's vital. San Juan Islands has a high rate in Anacortes of retirement folks who are coming out and they want to retire, but they want to have the health care and the caregivers provided for them. We need to increase training and opportunities and certification for them. We need to increase the wages for them. Thank you to SEIU for coming and sitting down with me and saying, Debra, these are the caregivers. They're like your aunties that take care of you. They are the ones that and uncles who take the time to take care of our elders. I come from a Native American community and background. It's within my value systems. You never let our elders go without. Washington State can do better. And I, as an advocate for SEIU, I, as an advocate for our nurses and our doctors and our caregivers, I'm going to strongly continue to push for an education workforce pipeline to be able to increase that. And I think my partner, Alex, will be advocating for the same. He is compassionate. And I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed working with Liz, who shares the same policy and platforms as I do. Economic stability, making sure that Department of Commerce is able to allocate the funding that's coming through the COVID money at the federal level. We need to get that money out to the states faster and the agencies sooner. The moratorium and rentals and paying for our utilities is going to increase. That's the bottom line. It's going to increase. And we need to make sure we have programs in place and having the pipeline for the money to come through so we can get those fundings out to our San Juan County. Now I go back to San Juan County being a rural community. My message to my legislative members, and a majority of them represent King County and urban areas, is Tacoma may have 200 homeless people out of 1,000 people. Those aren't real numbers, but I'm throwing it out there. And that's a major crisis for us. In San Juan County, when we have 20 out of 50 who are homeless, can't afford to live in the rentals that are there, the infrastructure for some of these rentals and some of this growth isn't there. 20 is a crisis for us in San Juan County. It is the same and equivalent to 200 down in King County. You need to make sure that our communities are treated equitably, that's a good word, treated with equity. So we're able to get the funding out here to to our communities. So I know that was a lot in 15 minutes. Victoria, I've got about 5 minutes to take any questions or comments that you guys might have. Laurie, Dr. Trautman, it's great to have you here. Lifting the border and providing access is needed. We need to be able to address that sooner rather than later. And whatever new letter that San Juan County may want to draft, that the three of your elected officials can sign on to, we're all there. So I'll pause.
Great, thank you. Everybody can unmute themselves. If you have a question, raise your hand and then ask it. Debra Hopkins, I see that Buchanan, I see that you are there with your hand up.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Representative Lekanoff, for being here today. And you mentioned ferries, and I, of course, represent the tourism industry, and I sit on the Ferry Advisory Committee. And I always tell the committee that the ferries are for residents first, but my job is to, stick up for our tourism economy also second. You did mention it, of course, but I'm just wondering, what exactly are you guys doing? As you know, the ferries in the last few weeks have just been detrimental to our industry. People getting scared off, basically. The ferries did run, they ran late, they didn't really maybe do a sick out, but it scared a lot of our Labor Day visitors off, that's our third major holiday, and just wondering what's ahead and how we're going to change that.
Having Liz chair of the ferry committee and having her continuously work with Alex and I, increasing the funding and continuing to advocate that we need another ferry and we need a dependable ferry service. I agree with you. I saw the slow trickle out here on Labor Day weekend. We were also facing the message from the governor and others, stay home if you can, take a vacation during another time, protect yourselves from the pandemic and get vaccinated. But we are continuing to advocate for more funding, more ferry services. We're competing against Bainbridge and competing against Whidbey, and people would like to say, don't get me wrong, oh, it's the ferry world, they're all connected with Bainbridge, they're all connected with Whidbey. No, the ferry systems and how they're managed within these three areas is quite different. We will continue to work with that. The other part of our conversation is a hard look at the community ferry system. How are we providing, and what other diverse services and can we provide, Debra, that says community first, make sure our communities get back and forth, make sure they can get to their mental health appointments, their groceries, they can get their children in to get their children in for their doctor's appointments. Elders need to come over, cancer patients need to come over, like making sure those roads are open through the ferry system for our local community, but knowing that the bread and butter of San Juan Islands is our tourism. And if we can't provide a pathway for our communities to come out there, you're not going to collect the bed tax that's needed to help our community in the San Juan Islands survive. Your continuous political push on us of holding us accountable, messaging back to Department of Transportation, this is unacceptable. Year after year after year, it is the same argument. Inefficient, unreliable ferry systems, locals being lost, and some of them don't have the money to get a hotel room when the ferry's canceled at 10:30 at night. Imagine a young girl coming home from college, going home to see her parents, and she's driving her car. She doesn't have the money. She gets stuck on the other side. She's 18 years old. She doesn't really know, she's coming from a rural area. Where's she going to go? How's she going to be safe? She going to sleep in her car, coming home from Christmas when it's really cold. This is the reality of what we're facing when we have an unreliable ferry system. So Debra, I hope us advocating really hits home, and we will continue to stand with Liz and champion that through.
Thank you. And in fact, that's the fact. My daughter was coming home for Labor Day weekend, and so I had a personal, worry about her getting here. So thank you so much. And just let us know what we need to do to help with that messaging.
Those stories, those messages, continue to send us information. It makes a difference.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to pipe up in that regard. Actually, later today, Mickey and I have been working for the last few days on a ferry survey, a ferry satisfaction survey, to get those stories that we're going to build into a little report. So we'll send those to everyone here in the room in order to get those stories and that data into your hands so that you can have a cogent conversation or a conversation that's backed up by data, because I think that makes a big difference.
Right.
When-
And I have anecdotal stories that I
Yes.
collected from our members that I sent
That's
to John
great.
Vazina at the Ferries, but I'll get that to you too.
That would be great.
I
Thank
I
you.
think we do. I think we need to go bigger. If we can create a little bit of a PR campaign around it. Guest editorials in the San Juan papers, in the Anacortes American from us, talking about the survey and what you collected, with a little quote with some anecdotal stories, 300 words that we could all sign on together. I'm happy John gets it, but sometimes you have to go above, and that's it. I have to go here, but there's one more issue, Victoria, that I really wanted to share. Many of you have seen the redistricting maps that have come out, and it's shifting San Juan County up into Woodby County, considering Island County. The determination when the redistricting commission did that was they thought, oh, they're just all ferry people. They all have the same issues on an island. They're all the same. And so they thought they were doing, the best that they could. It's also a political, you guys, between Republicans and Democrats. Who can get the most votes, to keep these counties safe. It's also looking at different districts and the swing districts and how to protect them. But Liz and Alex and I have stood strong, and we've been meeting and talking about these about these redistricting maps. We would like to urge all of you to continue to collaborate together, to send messages into the redistricting commission, both Brady and I can't remember. Kaylee, what's the other lady's name?
April Sims.
April Sims and Brady Rickenshaw, and let them know Anacortes and San Juan County is stronger together with South Fairhaven area and the Skagit. We can give a little bit, maybe 10% of the borders out to the 42nd and down to the 10th, but we have a long-standing unique relationship that's based on economic prosperity and likely, our community needs with San Juan County, Anacortes, Mount Vernon, the Skagit, Samish, and South Bellingham, we're all intertwined. Our communities are intertwined. Our women and men have clubs. We drink wine together. We read books together. Our bloodlines are intertwined. We share the same environmental and economic values that holds our communities tight. San Juan County is not connected to Woodby County just because they're ferry people and their islands. The conflict between San Juan County and the Navy and the Growlers is a huge issue. The transboundary, San Juan County is leading on transboundary vessel traffic matters. You drag that down into the 10th district, it gets watered down. The 42nd will slip in front of you and take control of the vessel traffic in that issue. You're also combining for Anacortes, the 4 refineries. The refineries here in Anacortes have a different relationship with our communities than the refineries to the north. Just because they're refineries, they're not all the same people. We want to protect how we're going to evolve our refineries and grow them. And that's the responsibility of 600 people within the 40th. So my message to you is, if you can advocate through your communities that we would like the 40th to stay strong. The last part that I wanted to share with you is you have 3 leaders who really work together. The 40th has not had that in a long time. We have incredible relationships, trust between Alex and Liz and I. We span out our issues so we're even, so every issue gets addressed because all 3 of us complement our leadership based on the fortes that we follow. All 3 of us are strong environmentalists, but we also do our environmental protection with integrity to growing to the economy and understanding each of us carry a platform on healthcare, on education, on economic development. All 3 of us have clear understanding and relationships with the 8 tribes that have treaty rights in that area, and we all understand transboundary matters. So this is, we don't want to be watered down by having to compete with the issues down in Woodby, which are much different and more conservative than us. And the 40th district is the strongest, most powerful environmental district within all of the districts. So just sharing that with you, Victoria, before I have to go.
Absolutely. Well, and would you be willing to do a listening session or a discussion session on that with the EDC? Because I think that's a tremendous issue and potentially devastating. So I would love to
Yes.
get the word out with you.
Yes, we would be happy to do
Okay,
that.
thank
You can
you.
you can coordinate with Kaylee.
Okay,
And I'm gonna guess that Liz and Alex would love to join us,
fantastic.
and our staff work closely together. I
Yes.
think Kaylee and Amanda and Jordan talk more than Kaylee and I do. And Kaylee and I
Yes.
talk 3 or 4 times a day. So great.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead
Thank
and
you.
jump off to my other meeting. Thank you, San Juans, for just being wonderful and being part of my family and taking care of Alex, Liz, and I, Kaylee, Jordan, and Amanda.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was wonderful to see you.
Great, good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Laurie Trautman, for joining us today. We're excited to hear all the news about the border. It's been shifting and interesting to watch, and we hope that there's a little progress going forward. So I'll hand the mic over to you, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Victoria. The last time I spoke to your group, I got to take the ferry out to Friday Harbor, and it was this beautiful sunny day, and it was such a lovely trip, and always reminds me of how lucky you all are to live out in such a beautiful place. So I have some slides. I am going to try to share my screen, and we'll hope that this works. Let me see if I'm going to share my other one. Hold on one sec. Okay, you should all see my screen fairly well. Yes, am I still with you?
No, we just see you.
You just see me, okay.
Yep, sorry.
No, sorry, I'm still a little, you know, a little new at the screen sharing thing. So let me try one more time here, and if I have to abort the mission, that is okay.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay. All right.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for holding with me on that. Okay. So I'm just going to talk pretty briefly. I've got a few slides. Victoria asked for some visuals, which I think are helpful anytime we're talking about data. So I run a very small research institute at Western Washington University, and we study the Canada-US border, which in normal times is, you know, pretty predictable stuff. We look at volumes. We try to get a good sense of the influence of Canadians on different parts of our economy in Washington State. Certainly Whatcom County, San Juan County, Clallam County, and King County seem to be kind of the strongest areas that are connected. And with the border restrictions being in place for almost a year and a half now, it's been a little bit crazy. And I can say that I never imagined there'd be so much interest on such a small sort of topic, the Canada-US border, but it's become a real big problem for a lot of border communities. So I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that in the Q&A, but I'll just give a little bit of a kind of overview of the issues we're facing. So, you know, this is just sort of the region that I tend to focus on a lot. That's really an interconnected system of cross-border transportation links. Obviously, you all have the ferry that runs from Vancouver Island out through Friday Harbor that travels on to Anacortes. There is the Coho ferry that travels from Victoria to Port Angeles, and the Victoria Clipper that travels between Seattle and Victoria. And of course, all of these services have been shut down since the border restrictions were put in place. And I'll get into a little bit of an explanation about the restrictions in a minute. And then I also wanted to just highlight, we have 5 land border ports of entry as well that are incredibly high volume. Typically, they rank some of the busiest land border ports along the Canada-US border. And of course, there's the curious case of Point Roberts, which is just sort of cut off by the 49th parallel, and they've been incredibly decimated by the border restrictions because Canadians still are not able to travel to Point Roberts for non-essential trip purposes. So what were these restrictions all about? They were put in place in a bilateral way with the US and Canada, and also between the US and Mexico, although Mexico never really put them in place. It was really the US that was actually monitoring travel. And they had been renewed monthly ever since then. And the US and Canada both kind of created these buckets of essential and non-essential travel. And these are actually really hard to define because they're very subjective and they're not the same. So Canada defines certain things as essential, and the US defined other certain things as essential. Commercial trade, work, students, those kind of all fit broadly within the essential category, but there was a lot of problems and still are a lot of problems with people who work across the border and maybe don't travel consistently. And so when they got to the border to cross for work, the response they would get was, well, if you hadn't had to cross the border in the past 3 weeks, then it must not be an essential part of your job. So things like that have been going on and are still going on. And then both countries had numerous exemptions to that, particularly for certain family members. So for quite some time, US family members could travel to Canada following certain requirements. And to this day, Canadian family members can enter the US, but it's very, very gray area, and it's not actually outlined in the regulations very clearly. So that's, again, part of the problem, is the kind of inconsistency and vagueness of these restrictions. One really key component of Canada's restrictions this whole time is that the federal government instituted a mandatory 2-week quarantine. So even if, for example, you were able to hop on a flight between Vancouver and, let's just say, Friday Harbor for argument's sake, that Canadian returning home, unless they were considered essential, would have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So that really effectively removed most cross-border travel, even though the US did not apply the border restrictions to air travel. I know that's a lot of sort of details. Canada also, quite some time ago, created an ArriveCan app. So it's an app you can download on your phone, and you put in all your information. That was used for contact tracing, that was used to monitor whether or not people were following the 2-week quarantine, and has also been used actually for Canada to be able to lift the restrictions, as they have a couple months ago, and I'll mention those in more detail on the next slide. And so again, the US restrictions were different for air and land and marine modes. And the way US border policy works is ferries fall under land ports of entry, which I know sounds kind of weird, but you're still processing those ferries when they arrive at a land border port. So everything that happened in the land mode applied to the ferry systems as well. So just to give you a brief look at how those car volumes across those land border ports, how those shifted during the restrictions between 2019 and 2020, you can see, the red or the black line is 2019 monthly volumes of cars entering those 5 border ports into Whatcom County, some of which are destined for the islands, in fact. And then the red line is what it looked like in 2020. So the numbers haven't changed at all, really, in 2021. They may have bumped up a tiny bit in the last couple months, but essentially we're at really over an 80% decrease in our cross-border travel. So what's happening today with the restrictions? They're still really confusing. I get a lot of phone calls from people who are like, I don't understand what's required, what's allowed, what kind of test I need to cross the border. But as of, I think it was mid-July, then early July, Canada opened its borders to vaccinated travelers with a negative PCR test. So the PCR test is the sort of fuller test than the rapid antigen one. And it takes a little while to get that back. And Canada was able to sort of put that process in place because they had that ArriveCan system on people's phones that could be downloaded and used. So if you are interested in traveling to Canada, you download the app on your phone, you upload all the information, and you sort of submit your trip manifest for all intents and purposes. And then when you arrive at the border, that is checked along with what they say you have to have paper documents as well. So for example, if I was going to travel to Canada, I would print out my test results. I would bring my CDC vaccination card in addition to having uploaded all of that. So it's a new system. It's a lot of work for a first-time traveler, but I think it's worked fairly well. And it has allowed Canada to say, it doesn't matter why you're coming here. You can come for any purpose whatsoever, as long as you are a healthy traveler, which is really the important piece of the situation right now. The issue we're facing, not just in Whatcom County, but across the border, is that testing availability is not really there. And so I have colleagues who have been planning to go to Canada for a specific event or a meeting as part of work, and they don't get their test results back in time. So that's a real challenge right now. Hopefully it's an acute challenge while we're sort of facing this wave and high testing rates, but it is very much an issue because you only have 72 hours from the time you take your test to the time you have to cross the border. So it's a pretty tight window for the most part. And the United States, unfortunately, has not reciprocated this system at the land border. We are still in the same exact system that we were in back in March of 2020. Only essential travel is allowed across the border from Canada into the US, whether that's marine modes or that's land modes. Again, people have been able to fly this whole time from Canada to the US, but as you all know, living where you live, that does virtually nothing for a cross-border tourism economy because, by the time you fly to Seattle, you're not going to drive back up here. So that's been an argument that's been very frustrating in conversations I've had with the Department of Homeland Security and really with the federal government officials as well, who don't really understand the way that cross-border communities are connected, whether it's ferry or it's a land port. The ability to fly does virtually nothing for those economies that depend on the border. Just a few days ago, the United States announced that they do have a plan for allowing international travel to flow more freely in the air mode only, which will be a system for vaccinated travelers to come from, I think, any destination. Many international destinations are still restricted. And I'll also add, just to cover all the bases, that rapid antigen tests are required to board a flight for the United States, but those are very quick turnaround times. So international travelers who want to fly to the US don't face that same really tight 72-hour window of trying to get their test results. It's a little bit easier for them to travel with that test. It's highly possible that the US government will take that system that they're going to put in place apparently in early November for international air travel and apply that to ferries and land travel. So that would mean that, for example, Canadians with proof of vaccination and an antigen test would be allowed to cross the border. I could talk about that forever if there's questions about why I sort of think that's happening or not happening, but I'll wait to see if anybody's actually interested in those details, because for now we're kind of stuck in the status quo, and it's highly possible, again, that we won't go that route on the land border because there isn't a system in place to collect that information. So for air travel, it's the gate agents, it's the private sector that has to handle that health information, whether it's test results or it's proof of vaccine. And there is no sort of private sector entity at the land border that could do that. Theoretically, there is at the ferry terminals, but that's a really big challenge. And I've spoken a lot with the owner of the Coho Ferry, Blackball Ferry Lines, Coho Ferry, that runs to Port Angeles. And, it's just not really clear if the infrastructure is there to have to deal with that kind of additional information for every single traveler. So at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not the United States fully lifts restrictions with Canada and the ferries start running, or we put in place some kind of health requirements, I think that our region overall, whether that's San Juan County or it's Whatcom County, I think we're really facing at least a near-term future where the border is going to be a lot more expensive to cross. It's going to require a lot more planning, and it's going to take a lot more time. So in the border policy world, we call it more friction. It's going to be like a higher friction border. And anytime you get that situation like happened after 9/11, the cross-border volumes really drop. So I hate to say that because it's not good news for either of our communities, but I think that, some places and some businesses that have really built up a dependency on the Canadian traveler, if they haven't already pivoted, it would be a good sort of thing to keep in the back of their minds, because I don't think, at least in Whatcom County, it's a little different because we have a lot of sort of day trippers, people that would cross back and forth several times a week for very short trips to go shopping, to pick up their mail. I don't see those coming back very soon, at least not to the volumes that they were before the pandemic. Your region is a little more tourism driven. I would guess, just a wild guess, seeing what happened in Bellingham, that you probably maybe had a pretty busy summer tourism wise. We were back to our 2019 numbers without Canadians. So certainly, the region is changing, and perhaps the border plays a smaller role in the economic vitality of our region going forward because of what we've been facing and will certainly continue to face. Especially, I think the Canadian restrictions will be as they are for quite some time. So I just have one more slide to kind of look a little bit about the San Juans. Pleasure craft, I think, is probably a pretty big deal for Anacortes and for the islands. That mode of travel is still banned from Canada. And if we look at some of the numbers we can pull from the studies we've done, cross-border travel to both Anacortes and Friday Harbor, we estimate typically there's around 70,000 trips on the Sydney ferry to Anacortes and around 7,000 to Friday Harbor. And then we see an additional around 10 to 12,000 Canadians traveling across the land border ports that are traveling down to Anacortes and eventually getting on the ferries and going out to the San Juan. So, you know, when we distill all that down, I would guess we're probably looking at 20 to 30,000 Canadian visits just from, you know, the northern this region in a typical year, and the vast majority of those have certainly dried up, at least for the time being. And one more final thing I'll just mention is the Department of Commerce has just announced that they are opening up another grant program for small and medium-sized businesses. I think it's really tailored towards smaller businesses. That's really focused on businesses that have been impacted by the border restrictions. So I worked with them, providing them with some data and some metrics. And so there are some strings attached to that funding. There's all sort of caveats if these businesses have applied for funding before, but I encourage you definitely to spread the word, because I think a lot of businesses out there would be eligible because they certainly fall under the umbrella of being impacted by the restrictions. So I'm going to end my slideshow and stop sharing my screen and hopefully do that in a fairly seamless matter, Victoria.
We're on a tropical vacation all of a sudden. It's like, oh my goodness, that's very beautiful.
Okay, there we go.
So thank you, Dr. Trautman. I did want to mention that it really has been our retailers that have seen, I think, the greatest impacts, because as you said, folks are coming from other places to fill in the gaps a bit. So hotel motel is higher than 2019 actually.
Okay.
But our smaller retailers are still struggling, some of them. Anyway, let me stop talking and open it up for questions from anybody who would like to ask one.
One thing I'll say is, as Debra was speaking, and there was the question from the other Debra around kind of what can be done. I get a lot of requests from different levels of government, all the way up to US members of Congress around, they not only want anecdotal stories, but they really want, how are these, you know, businesses impacted? And oftentimes they want a number, and that's pretty hard to get, but even some sort of like 5 out of 10 businesses say that the border restrictions have impacted them. Like even those kinds of metrics, that, as you're saying, stories that can be backed up by some data are really useful and really effective. And that's the kind of information that can be put in letters to the White House and others to really advocate for doing something about these restrictions, because there's been nothing done this entire time. So
it's amazing. And that's a really great suggestion. And we do have a good network for getting things like surveys out to the world. So that's a great suggestion. Thanks.
Yeah, the more data, the better. And one of the things that really struck me over the last year and a half was just how little data there really is on the border. Our region does pretty well because we have several organizations that do this work, but most regions don't. And so, you know, the more data we have to tell our story and to sort of advocate for our communities, the longer and the farther we'll be able to go with that.
Right, absolutely. Thank you. Oh, Debra's got a question.
Well, more of a comment, maybe. Like Victoria said, I don't really know how much we've been affected by that, but I'm just wondering, I'm sure you've probably been talking to Sandy at the Bellingham, Whatcom County CVB. Okay, great, because I'm sure they've really been impacted.
Yeah, and in interesting ways. She was the one who told me that our hotel occupancy was back to 2019 levels, and certainly walking around Fairhaven where I live, it's like, wow, it's busy, you know, there's a lot of people. But then you get to like the hotels out closer to the airport. The Bellingham International Airport has suffered a lot because we in the past have really relied on Canadian travelers. And then certainly Point Roberts, it's really places like Blaine and Linden and Sumas and Point Roberts up here that don't have a tourist draw necessarily. You know, they relied on whether it was retail or it was even Canadians coming down to purchase gas. or second homeowners too, particularly in Point Roberts, lots of second homeowners who haven't been able to access their properties. So those communities that are pretty rural and that don't have that tourism draw like the islands do, or like say Bellingham does, they have nothing to fall back on, I think, and that's been really challenging.
Okay, great. I figured you'd been in close contact with, them and maybe the chamber in Bellingham.
Yeah, we have a good network.
Great.
So.
That's great. Any other questions from anyone? Looks pretty not questiony out there. Couldn't think of a good word. So thank you, Dr. Trautman, so much for coming. It was kind of exciting to see your name in like national papers and news media. It was an amazing time for you, I think, too, just to really like suddenly you were the go-to person for everyone to talk to. That must have been hard.
It was, well, you know why that is because there is no other institute in the US that is dedicated to studying the Canada-US border. There's, individual faculty and there's some think tanks, but there is no other comparable research institute. So I always say kudos to the state of Washington for creating us and supporting us, because in times of need like this information is super, super important. But yeah, it was a little overwhelming for a while. And then I kind of got like a little jaded by it, because the national news they'll take what you say and they'll put it out there in ways that you're like, I didn't really say that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to sort of the frenzy passing and really looking at what does the new border mean for our communities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because wasn't it the largest free border in the whole world? And now
and ironically, the Peace Arch up here in Blaine is 100-year anniversary since it was completed. And, the saying on that is, may these gates never be closed. And there was supposed to be a huge 100-year celebration, also a 20-year memorial for 9/11. And all of that was shut down. And the irony was just sort of like hard to, take.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you too for your leadership, because if you'd been a different person, you wouldn't have been the head of the conversation. So thank you for being our voice for that, for all of us in border communities.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. We do not rise to the forefront, I have to say.
Right, exactly right. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody. If there's no further questions, I will go ahead and end the call. But if you do have questions that you think about afterwards, absolutely email me, info@sanjuansedc.org, or me directly is victoria@sanjuansedc.org. And if it's something that I can answer, I will, or I can forward it to Dr. Trautman or Representative Lekanoff or other entities. So thank you, hang in there, and we'll be back next Thursday for a conversation with Jordan Cronin from Governor Inslee's office. Thank you. Take care, everybody.